Fail, are we streaming on your Facebook group?
Yes, we are, but it's not on yet.
We are on, Brian.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Brian Terrian here from the Disability Digest, and welcome to our Wednesday YouTube live event, special event today. We have an hour with the expert, James Mitchell Brown, who you'll hear from in a moment. So, if you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning visitor, welcome back. Our goal is to be your trusted guide for navigating through the issues of social security, disability related issues, whether that's trying to get your benefits approved, keep them, survive on them. These are the areas that we focus on. So, we encourage you to stay tuned to these events and other information that we put out on our YouTube channel so that we can help you get to where you want to go faster. So again, welcome everybody. If you have been tuned into this channel for a bit, then you may know or have heard of Mr. Brown's work, Attorney James Mitchell Brown. I refer to him as the expert because he clearly, to me, is like an industry icon. He's been doing this work with Social Security since 1973. So if there's a situation out there that's, that exists, I expect Jim has seen it. So in addition to that, Jim's been on CBS regarding the work that he's done. He has worked here with us to put together a how to prepare and survive your continuing disability review, a 10-segment course that Jim was generous enough to help with. And I am pleased to report, or actually, I don't know about pleased, but in the work that I do as helping individuals, I am held to a continuing education standard by Social Security. And next week, I am attending one of those events that is going to be taught by Attorney James Mitchell Brown on ethics. So I look forward to being with you then. So, Jim, thanks for joining.
It's a pleasure to be here, Brian.
Yes. And of course, Philip Price and Jam, as always.
Hello,
Super grateful for your participation in doing this. So, Jim, today I know there's questions that are already coming in. So we want to have the opportunity for individuals to ask you their questions directly. And so for those of you listening, you can text your question, and we are going to have some time at the end where you can actually call in. And we'll give you 3 minutes to, have your question asked and answered. I say 3 minutes because we want to be respectful of Attorney Brown's time, and it is an hour with the expert. So we're going to try to pack everything in. But first, I have some questions for you that we've collected. I know there's been some updates on the Social Security front on overpayments, Jim, something that I hope our listeners out there never get, but if they do. But can you give us your perspective, what's going on in that? Is it really just another news event, or is it something of substance?
This is really something of substance, and we have to thank the president for appointing Commissioner O'Malley, the former governor of Maryland, who's the new commissioner of Social Security, the first real commissioner we've had in a long time. And Social Security has been, on some overpayments, taking 100% of a person's check, leaving them with nothing. Commissioner O'Malley last week said, that they will only take 10% of a claimant's check to recoup an overpayment. The problem is, he said it's going to take some time to get it implemented. And if you have an overpayment and Social Security is taking more than 10% of your check, you should immediately call them, 800-772-1213. That's 800-772-1213. Tell them you have an overpayment, they're taking more than 10%, and you want you to be in the new procedure where they're only taking 10% of your pay. That's important because the commissioner said it's going to take them at least 4 months to identify the people who are having more than that taken out of their check. And they're probably not going to give any retroactive money to anybody. So make that phone call, get your overpayment amount adjusted. Secondly, and this is another big one, is he said, first of all, in order to have an overpayment waived, you have to prove it wasn't your fault and it would be a hardship to repay it. The commissioner said they've changed the burden and now Social Security is going to have to prove that it was your fault. That's a big, big deal. On the other hand, if you were working, earning more than the allowed limit and didn't call Social Security and tell them, you're at fault. If you were getting workers' comp and didn't tell Social Security, you are at fault. So if you put it on your application that you're getting workers' comp, you're not at fault. There's one argument, sometimes it's successful, sometimes it isn't, that when you're working and they take Social Security out of your paycheck, that's notifying Social Security that you're working. It's a stretch, but it's worked occasionally. My suggestion is, if you're working and you call Social Security every time you get a paycheck to tell them you're working, save your phone bill, because your phone bill will have a record that you at least called. And it doesn't say what you talked about, but if you have a record that you called them, I have somebody who has been getting SSI since 1995. She tried working on the Ticket to Work program, which is a legitimate return to work program of Social Security. She worked enough to be able to get disability benefits. She applied for disability and was denied. She got hurt at work, was getting workers' comp. And every time she got a paycheck, she called Social Security. Every time she got a workers' comp check, she called Social Security. We had 24 years of telephone bills. It wasn't easy to get those. And we highlighted every call she made to Social Security. And although at the first level, Social Security said, we don't know what she was talking about, how do we know she called us to tell us she got a paycheck or she was getting workers' comp? It was pretty obvious that she was, or why would she have called on those dates? So we did get her overpayment waived. It's still not easy. But keep those records because you at least have a record that you did it. So it's important. They're making it less burdensome. The next important thing that came out of Social Security was if you're getting SSI, they usually take a third of it away if you're living with someone, saying that's their support for room and board. They're no longer counting support for food. People on SSI are usually food deprived. And they're saying that's a hardship that you shouldn't lose some of your SSI for. If somebody's paying for your food or giving you food or you're getting it from any other means, that shouldn't reduce your SSI. They haven't said how much they're going to reduce the offset by, but they've at least made a change and said SSI people or claimants will not lose part of their benefit for food support. They will still lose part of the benefit for support for housing, but it's at least an acknowledgement. So we have a new commissioner who's seriously trying to help the disabled claimant.
Beautiful. Okay, quick scenario for you back to the overpayment before we move on. All right. Somebody is they have a $2,000 a month disability check, right? And they tell Social Security that they're going to go back to work and maybe do some part-time work. But as a result, they go over the limit by, say, $500 a month for 10 months for $5,000. So does the 10% repayment apply to them because they let Social Security know?
Well, they're not at fault. We then get to the hardship to repay it. They're first of all not going to owe it for the 9-month trial work period.
Right.
So they will have an overpayment for 1 month or more than 1 month if they kept doing that. The hardship to repay it depends on whether or not they're still working, how much they're making. It's a close call on that one. It depends on more facts.
Okay. Okay. But
Um,
yes, Jim.
Just a question, sir, regarding what you just shared from the viewer. Did I understand you to say that you have to call Social Security every time you get a paycheck?
You don't have to, but I recommend that you do it, or at least once a month, call them and tell them what you earn.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
And there's nothing in the law that says you have to, but applying it, that's your best protection to prove that you've notified them and you're not at fault.
Right. Right. Okay. Let's move on.
Let me add one more thing there. You
Oh.
don't have to notify them if you're earning less than $1,500 a month.
Okay. All right. But I always advise people, if you're going to do any type of work, to let them know. It says in the award letter. But yeah. Okay, so I want to move on a little bit, and I've kind of got I guess I'd say it's a two-part question about something I know that you do that is extremely unique, high level in the practice that you have, because you've got some god-awful judges in your area. And I want to have you communicate that as part of an answer to a question, or like a common question, like, what are some 4 top tips that you would have if you were hiring or advising somebody to hire a Social Security disability representative? So what is the strategy that you do, as an example, that I expect most don't? And then how does that tie into, like, when you're looking for somebody, like the 4 key things that somebody should look for in a right hire? Does that make sense?
Yes. First question would be, are you a member of NADA or NASCAR? Those are the 2 organizations that Social Security representatives can belong to. And if they're not a member of either one of them, they're not getting enough continuing education to be a good Social Security representative. So that's essential and a basic.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, what percentage of your practice is Social Security disability? Choosing a lawyer is difficult. Just because somebody handled your sister's divorce doesn't mean they can handle your Social Security disability claim. And there's a lot of lawyers who will take anything that comes in the door. You want someone who has a minimum of 50% of their practice being Social Security disability. Next thing is, look up, and it's easy to find, what percentage of the cases in your area are being approved. Ask the lawyer then what percentage of their cases are approved. If they're not getting more cases approved than the average in your area, you don't need them. There's one lawyer I know who brings in hundreds and hundreds of cases every month. In his market, the average favorable rating is 42%, and he wins 27%. People are better off without him than with him. You want to know what percentage they're winning. The next thing is you want to know if you lose at a hearing, will they appeal your case to the appeals council? And if they appeal to the appeals council, do they write a brief? Also, backing up a bit, do they write a brief before the hearing or a memo?
Mhm.
My pre-hearing memo is a page and a half, 2 pages, and I like it to be a roadmap for the judge on why they should pay the case. It doesn't have to be long, but it has to hit the highlights of your disability. If they don't write a pre-hearing memo, they're winging it. They're not doing what's necessary to give you the best chance of getting a favorable decision. Another one, do they get all the medical records or do they rely on you to do it? There are some representatives who tell the client, okay, you're seeing Dr. Smith, ask him for a copy of his records. Tell Dr. Jones to fill this form out for me.
Mhm.
Now, some doctors won't fill the form out unless the patient brings it in with them. But that's the unusual circumstance. The representative should be getting the medical records, not you. They should be doing the work on your case to earn the fee they're going to get.
Mhm.
And you want to know, what do you do on the case? Do you look at my vocational background? Do you know how to cross-examine the vocational witness who's going to be at a hearing? Do you write a memo about the case? And if it's not a yes to everything, keep looking for another representative.
Good point. I asked for 4, but as always, you go above and beyond. That was excellent. So the second part of this is the judges that you have in Cleveland, and this is recorded. I don't want to get in any trouble. I don't think we're going to by doing this, but I know you've got some judges there that have very low approval rates, and they're not the only
Right.
ones. Dallas North has some as well, but you have done something that is unique, that this could give individuals an idea of what they want to look for in a disability representative, because not everybody can hire you and so on and so forth. But as an example, so please.
Chicago has the lowest paying judge in the country. She approved 5 out of 269 cases last year.
Oh my God.
Which is just disgraceful. But what I do when I get the judges who are very low approvals payer people is I will get a sworn statement from the attending physician. I will actually have a court reporter as if I'm doing a deposition, except there's no one to cross-examine them. And I will ask the doctors all the questions I need to ask them to show that my client should get disability. And it's everything from their diagnosis, the treatment, what's worked, what hasn't worked, why it hasn't worked, how many days a month my client would be expected to miss from work if they were trying to do a full-time job, and a whole lot of questions. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes. A doctor I did recently said, this was like sitting in our living room chatting the way you made that happen. But it was a sworn testimony. I then filed it, and to the judge, it looks like you're treating them like a real judge, not a Social Security judge. Social Security judges are real judges. They're appointed by the Secretary of Social Security. But a judge who's elected to be a judge in your community. But you're showing them a different kind of respect by doing that. And by doing that, I laid the groundwork to show them this is a serious case. This is why I think you should be approving it. And if they don't approve it, I've made a good record to file my appeal.
Yeah. Yeah. in the work that you're doing, you're pretty much geographically concentrated, right? So I would expect that the judges know you.
The judges know me, although I do get cases from, I have a client in Oklahoma, one in Chicago.
Yeah.
I have them all over the country,
Mhm.
but
Okay.
most of my clients are in Ohio.
Okay. Last question, and this is actually from me as a general interest question, but it does apply to everybody before we start taking questions from others, is if you look at the flow of work at Social Security, are there times of the year or quarters of the year when there's more awards than others?
I think it's a pretty steady approval denial type thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, can't they approve it? It's Christmas time. That doesn't mean anything to the judges.
No.
What's worse is the difference state by state. If you're in Ohio, you're going to get your first decision in 5 to 6 months. If you're in Texas, you're going to get your first decision in 13 to 15 months.
Mm-hmm.
Hearings take a different amount of time depending on where you are. Average length of time for a hearing from when you request one is 15 months. In some places, though, it's 5 months, and in other places, it's 30 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a geographical issue also.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, Philip and Jam, do you want to arm wrestle to see who's going to go first with a question, or how you want to do this? And then, folks, for those listening out there, we're going to open the phone lines in a few minutes as well, so you have the opportunity to call in.
Ladies first. Go ahead. Jim.
Okay, that would be you, Jam.
I'm a lady. Thank you, Phil. All
Always a
right.
Southern gentleman.
Yes, you are. All right. From Robert, do SSDI in state of Pennsylvania receive a stimulus check in March 2024? If you could give me information on that, I'd appreciate it. My age is 58, been on SSDI for epilepsy and arthritis. I am retired.
Can you repeat that? I didn't get the very first part about a stimulus
Yes,
check.
sir. Yes, the question is, do SSDI in state of Pennsylvania receive a stimulus check in March of 2024?
Not that I know of.
Mhm.
All right. From Greg, I received SSA 820BK form. I sent it February 14. I've been on SSDI for 2 years. Should I have heard anything by now? I wrote, I wasn't sure if I filled out correctly. Is it okay to call Social Security? I wasn't supposed to have a CDR for 5 to 7 years.
They can do the CDRs anytime they want. The younger you are, the more frequently they do them. I wouldn't call because often they get your form, it looks okay, and they just keep the benefits going. If you call, you sometimes wake them up and they decide, oh, maybe we should look at this again. So as long as the checks are coming and you haven't heard anything else, I wouldn't call.
Right. I had my ALJ hearing last week. I am a 58 years old, 100% PNT veteran, retired federal correctional officer. Numerous severe medical issues. VA said no to the hypothetical posed by the judge. Your thoughts?
If the vocational witness gave jobs to any of the hypotheticals, then you have to wait for the judge's decision. If the vocational witness said no jobs to every hypothetical, you're going to win your case.
All right. Do you want to go next, Phil?
Yeah, I got a couple here real quick.
Okay.
Facebook member asked, I have a hearing tomorrow, I think they mean a review, with a disability psychiatrist. What are some of the things I should expect, and am I getting closer to them making a decision yet?
You came in a little unclear, Phil. Can you say that again?
Okay, they ask, or they say they have a hearing tomorrow, but I think they mean they have a review with a disability psychiatrist. And they're asking, what are some of the things I should expect? And am I getting closer to them making a decision yet?
Okay. If it's a review with a psychiatrist or psychologist, one of my warnings is if they ask about you need the money, never say yes. Say, I wish I could feel better. I wish I could get back to work. I miss going to work. Some of the psychologists think everybody has something called compensation neurosis, and they're only filing for disability as a way to get money. And if you say, yes, I need the money, that's all they hear the whole time, no matter what your other answers are. So I always tell people when you're seeing a Social Security psychologist or psychiatrist, never respond to, don't you need this money, or you're doing this for the money. It should always be, I just wish I could go back to work. Never give an affirmative answer. If he's having the hearing tomorrow, the judge is first going to talk about the jobs that you've done in the past. The first thing you have to do is prove you can't do your past jobs. And they're going to get into that in some detail. How much did you lift? How long did you stand? How long did you walk? How long did you sit? Bending, stooping, reaching, pushing, pulling. After that, the judge is going to talk about what you do during the day. Do you vacuum your house? Do you make dinner? Do you do the dishes? Do you do laundry? None of which is relevant to whether or not you can do substantial gainful employment, but some judges think it is. Other judges just want to get a feeling for who you are. They then get into your medical impairments in more detail and why it prohibits you from working. And then they'll ask the vocational witness some hypotheticals.
Mhm.
Okay. Another one here says, I'm 45, been suffering with rheumatoid arthritis, and it's very difficult for me to walk or movement with my hands. I would like to know if I'm candidate to apply for permanent disability, and if so, do I need to go to the doctor first, or can I supply SSDI office? I'm in California, and by the way, have worked for 20 plus years.
Okay, well, first of all, a diagnosis is not a disability. So the fact that you have rheumatoid arthritis doesn't mean you're entitled to disability. What you need to do is show why that rheumatoid arthritis keeps you from working. Does it affect your ability to lift, stand, stoop, bend? How is that rheumatoid arthritis, a disabling condition, keeping you from doing your substantial gainful employment? At age 45, it becomes difficult to prove it. Once you're 50, it's a little easier because Social Security makes it easier to get disability when you're over 50. One of the things I've found for people who have a condition that causes a lot of pain is if they're seeing a mental health therapist. First of all, having pain is like going through a grieving process of why did this happen to me? What's tomorrow going to be? What do I have next? Secondly, though, sometimes at Social Security, you're dealing with someone who says, he's 45, how bad can his pain be?
Mm.
If a mental health therapist says, this patient is credible, the Social Security person can't say they're not being legitimate about their complaints of pain because a professional said they are legitimate about it. So you've just buttressed the case better.
Mhm. Just one moment before we take another question. Folks, for those of you that would like to call in, I will put the number up on the screen in a minute. We'll take, at least 3 callers before we end up today. So just you can gather your thoughts and your questions so you make sure it's concise and you use your 3 minutes with the expert wisely. So, all right. Are we back to you, Jim?
Let me get this last one in here.
Okay.
It says, I have an upcoming meeting with a psychiatrist for my disability case. Is this the last step before they make a decision, or do I have more loops to jump through?
It depends on what that psychiatrist says. After the psychiatrist sends the report back to Social Security, it goes to medical review. The medical reviewer may say, we need another psych eval. The psychiatrist talked about the physical problems. We need another physical evaluation. They might say, there's enough there. Look at how this restricts him. Or they might say there's not enough there, deny the claim.
Mm-hmm. But closer, can we all agree that that is a step closer?
I should say that if you look up your claim online, sometimes it says it's 80% done. That doesn't mean anything, because next week it might be back to 60%, and then it'll be 90, and the week after it'll be at 50%. So those percentages mean nothing. They're just moving your case around.
Yeah. I don't understand the logic behind that, but that's a whole other conversation. All right, Jam.
Right. Okay. From normal, how long do you have to wait before you receive your back payment after getting a decision?
Question.
Usually you will get the back payment within 3 to 4 weeks, unless it's SSI, in which case they have to check your non-disabling factors. Are you living alone or with someone? What percentage of your overhead are they paying? Did you sign an agreement that you would pay them back? If it's disability, they may be checking to compare if you're getting workers' comp or not. If you're getting workers' comp, it can sometimes take as long as 3 or 4 months. Unless you're getting federal workers' comp, and then it often takes as much as 6 or 7 months, because every state workers' comp program gives a real decision saying we find you're entitled to disability from this state to this state. The federal system doesn't do that. It just gives you a printout of what you've received. And Social Security can't figure out that there's no formal decision that's going to say you're getting it or you're being terminated. And they just wait for a decision from federal workers' comp, and there is none. And you have to get to someone who understands that to get them to pay you.
Some of these stretch out for a while. I'm going to open up the phone lines here, and we'll let some callers call in. Let me just get the number up, and then Jam, if we have some downtime, you can load up another question. Okay.
Okay, can I ask a question now?
Yeah, go for it while I'm getting ready.
Okay. From Jill, my sister is in hospice and collects Social Security disability. When she passes, is her 62-year-old husband able to claim her Social Security?
If he doesn't get it on his own, he can get, he won't get her full amount. I think he'll get 2/3 of what she's getting. He should find out if he gets more under his own earnings or under her earnings.
All right. I'm 59 years old man, been on SSDI since 55, got a favorable decision from judge with an opinion for CDR within 5 to 7 years. So far, I have not received a CDR letter. What are my odds to get a CDR?
If you're 59, there's almost no chance you'll get reviewed.
And that's the same with those who are 60 above,
Yes.
sir? Okay, thank you.
I
All
have
right, I
one
am
more here.
going. Okay, Phil.
Clarity asks, why is it so challenging to be approved for mental health illnesses?
That again depends on the judge, the circuit you're in. If you live in the Chicago area, it's usually easier because their Court of Appeals has issued some decisions making it easier to get disability on mental health. If you live in Texas, Louisiana, it's tougher because their Court of Appeals has made it tougher. The other thing, though, is for some judges, it's tougher to quantify mental health. How severe is it? How disabled
This is
it?
Brian Terry, and just hold 1 minute and we'll take your question. Sorry, Jim. Continue.
Okay. And a lot of it is, what did your doctor say? If the doctors don't fill the forms out well, then it becomes very difficult. So it's a lot of it is, what can you get from the doctors? Although I had one recently where the doctor said my client would be off task 20% of the time, and the judge and his decision said he doesn't think that's credible. He thinks the claimant would only be off task 10% of the time. I got that decision sent back for a new hearing because the judge had no basis for giving his own medical opinion. There was nothing medically in the whole file to support 10%.
All right, we'll take this caller. This is Brian Terry, and thank you for calling in. Who am I speaking with?
My name is Harry.
Hey, Harry, how are we doing today?
I've had better days. Thank you.
All right, well, hopefully we improve it. You have a question for our expert?
I do. First of all, I had a hearing over the phone 2 weeks ago yesterday. Before the hearing, my attorney said that she would rebut whatever the person that does the job listings, whatever that person is. Before the hearing, and one thing, the judge never asked me one question. My attorney did all the talking, and then the other person talked about the job situation or whatever, and my attorney never said a word to her, never asked her a question. I'm really, is that a basis for any kind of appeal to the appeals council? Because my attorney just dropped the ball on me. I mean, I'm an attorney, but she just never didn't say anything.
Okay, I think I just want to make sure Jim heard your question. Jim, did you hear
I did.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you ready, Harry? Here it comes.
Until you get the decision, you don't know if your attorney did a good job or not. I have cases where I have said absolutely nothing other than my name, and I don't have any objections to the evidence. And yes, the vocational witness can testify, because the judge, in questioning my client, asked every question I would ask. In questioning the vocational witness gives good testimony. And I don't want to ask anything because I might get a bad answer. I happen to like it when the judge doesn't ask my client any questions and just turns it over to me, because then I only get the testimony that I think is going to be beneficial. We're not going to get anything that's not beneficial out of in that testimony. And if the vocational witness's testimony is good, technically, the judge is supposed to start the vocational witness's testimony by saying, assume I have a hypothetical person of this claimant's age, education, and work history who has nothing wrong with them. Is there any job you can do? And then the vocational witness can find 3 million jobs you can do, and start building one impairment at a time. Most judges don't do that. Most of them just go right to what they think is wrong with you and build from there. Adding impairments. I have one judge in Cleveland who will always start with, okay, they have a herniated disc and can't lift more than this, can't bend more than this. And then after they get that answer, say, okay, now they have trouble with their shoulder and can't lift their arm more than 90 degrees, and just builds the impairments.
Mhm.
So if the judge does everything properly, which almost none of them do, the attorney doesn't have much to say. It's rare that I don't have questions to ask, but if the answers are good, I'm done. I don't want to say anything that's going to get me a bad answer.
Mm. Yeah, we lost Harry's call, but you did a great job of addressing his questions. So he's just wait and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of that is also having expectations of what should happen in a hearing, what your attorney's role is. You just gave a good example of that. So I'm going to finish up this call. So if somebody else has a call you'd like to call in, the line is open. Oh, here we go. Thanks for calling. This is Brian. Who am I speaking with?
Yes, this is Shirley.
Hi, Shirley. How are you?
I could be better, but
Well, we're going to make it
survive.
better if we answer your question right. Yeah. How can we help you?
I recently applied for disability in August of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
I have an attorney. I'm in Ohio. Recently on the 22nd of March, I had my appointment with the disability doctor. I'm currently in like phase 3 of the reconsideration appeal. Like, what's the next step? Like, how long will it until I find out, like, what the doctor says? Like, what do I do? Like,
I'm not familiar with phases of reconsideration. Maybe you are, Jim, but what advice do you have for Shirley?
All you can do right now is wait. The chances are good that you're going to get denied at reconsideration. In Ohio, they approve about 5% at reconsideration.
Oh boy.
So chances are good you're going to get denied.
uh-oh.
And then you request a hearing.
Hmm.
And the hearing is the only time in the system that you get to have a real good under oath question and answer session with the person making the decision. And your attorney should prepare you well for that session.
Yeah. Jim, is there any evidence that perhaps Shirley could add that may not have been added yet that would be helpful? I'm not saying that it's going to change the 5% to 50, but it's not approved. So what?
She could call the claims rep at Social Security, ask them what evidence they have from her doctors, and if anything's missing, ask her to hold it until she gets those records. Medical records in Ohio are free for a Social Security case.
Mm-hmm.
So she can call her doctor, say, I want a copy of my office records, and it's for a Social Security case. So they have to give it to her for free. Some will mail them, some will email, some will say, come pick them up. But when she gets them, she can fax them to Social Security. It's much better to fax it than to mail it.
Mm-hmm.
And she should have gotten a letter with a barcode that she would put on top of it,
Right.
and fax them in. But if she knows things are missing, ask the rep to not make a decision until she gets those.
Okay. Did you get that, Shirley?
I didn't hear anything he said. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through and condense it for you. So the strategy is you're in a waiting phase because it's a very low percentage there. It's likely you're going to get denied. Just get prepared to go for a hearing. I had asked Attorney Brown, what if anything could be done right now? You know, because you're not approved, evidences, and his advice was contact the caseworker at Social Security to find out if there's any missing medical records. Like if you have 5 doctors and they only have records from 4, go get the other one, get those medical records in, ask them to wait on their decision until you get the medical records in. So that was something that you could do right now, regardless, to help make a difference. Make sense?
Yeah, see, because when I called a few weeks ago, they were only going by what my primary care doctor said, and they were only focusing on one of my, what do you call it, ailments or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't focusing on the whole picture. They weren't focusing on my other 3 doctors that I see.
Well, maybe they're not
Focus.
focusing. Jim can chime in on this, but the key is to see if they have them.
Right. If they don't have those records, and sometimes they don't send for all of them. One of my favorite
Like, I know
cases,
they were
it was
asking about
pathetic,
what my
was a
one doctor's name
16-year-old with
was,
Graves'
my
disease and
hospital visits,
myasthenia gravis.
days, emergency room visits, and things like that. So I just assumed that they had everything.
Mm, yeah, the key word is assume. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
just let Shirley, just let Jim wrap up. He's got one more thought.
Yeah, I had somebody who had Graves' disease and myasthenia gravis. They denied her case, and I saw they hadn't gotten any of her hospital records. So when I filed the reconsideration, I got the 16,000 pages of hospital records. She'd been in the hospital 9 times in the 12 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
And I filed those with my appeal. And a week later, the head of the state agency called and apologized for turning her down and for the case rep not getting all those records.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to see what's missing and give it to them.
Right. Right. I have one more thing before I let you go, Shirley. I don't know if you're a member here at the Disability Digest, but we offer, with your membership, access to a disability approval course, and there's a specific section for reconsideration. It goes through like what should have been done to file the appeal, how the appeal should have been written, extra evidence that you can get to put in your case file, things like that. I would encourage you to do that. Even though you have an attorney, the course will help you understand what they should be doing to hold them accountable through the process. Because like we talked about at the top of the call, there's some people that do this work, or they'll take in cases and they're not actually doing, all the custom work that needs to be done. So I'd suggest that. So keep us posted. We're hoping for an award for you. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm.
All right, we'll take one more caller. I'm just clearing the line. And here it is. Oh, maybe not. Whoever just tried to call in, I didn't get you in time. You can try again. Here we go. This is Brian. Thanks for calling. Who am I speaking with?
Atty from Florida.
Is this Eddie with an E?
Yes.
All right, Eddie from Florida. Thanks for calling in. What is your question for Attorney Brown today?
Yes. I recently received a form SSA 454BK,
Mm-hmm.
and sections. Everything in the form has been not too hard to answer, but section 8 and section 9. It's been really challenging for me to know or understand what is it exactly that they want me to say of each of the things that are in the list.
Okay, tell me the sections again that you're having a challenge with.
Section 8, daily activities.
Okay.
And section 9, the remarks where it says, please provide any additional information you did not give her in earlier parts of the report.
Okay. All right. So Jim, we're putting you on the spot, putting you to work. So up on the screen, Eddie, and you can just listen right now and review later, but I'm in hopes that Attorney Brown will give you a few tips on 8 and remarks.
Okay, this one is,
yes, please.
Again, one of those things that should be irrelevant, but they pay attention to. Do you have any trouble dressing yourself? Meaning, is it hard for you to put your shoes on? Bending over is difficult. Do you have trouble buttoning a shirt? Snapping a bra? Whatever it is.
Jim?
Yeah.
Eddie said he doesn't have a problem snapping a bra.
Okay, good. If bathing is difficult, you have trouble washing yourself or getting in and out of a shower or bathtub, if combing your hair is difficult, walking, standing, sitting. Usually, if you have a lot of pain, you have some trouble concentrating. If you forget to take your medicine or you have to set your alarm to remind you to take your medicine, check that. If you prepare meals, but it's mostly microwave, or you make a sandwich, or it's cereal and milk, put that, but explain that preparing meals is only simple things. If you only shop online, or if you go to the store, but you have to get 12 bags, so none of them weigh more than 5 pounds, put that. If you have trouble lifting, using your arms, again, mark that. When you have pain, sometimes because of medicine, sometimes just because of the pain, you have trouble remembering things. So check that. If you have trouble cleaning your house, doing any tasks outside. If you drive, but only short distances, you only drive to a doctor's office or to your friend's house that's close by. Sometimes, again, when there's pain, it's hard to understand or follow directions. Sometimes that's because of the pain. Sometimes it's because of the medicine. But check that and explain it. Managing money, meaning I have trouble counting change. I have trouble balancing a checkbook, which I didn't used to do. A lot of times when you have a disability, getting along with people is difficult. You just become more irritable because you don't feel good all the time. If you're having trouble using your hands or your fingers, or seeing, hearing, or speaking, check that. And then give like number 1, 2, 3, 4, all of your responses to anything you checked up there. Don't make it long, just brief descriptions of why you checked that box.
Mm-hmm. So could you provide like one example for Eddie, like shopping? Like what would a brief, short example be if somebody checked the box for shopping, Jim?
I only shop with my spouse or my child because I can't carry the bags and it's hard for me to get through a grocery store. So I usually sit down and rest and they come and get me.
Okay, good. Eddie, you get this abundance of information?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It's
helping me better.
Good. Let's talk about the remarks next then. What's your advice on the remarks section? Did I get that correct, Eddie? That was the next question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. For remarks, it's first of all a place to finish any answers you didn't finish on the form. Secondly, I always like to put in, I just want to recover and work again. Too many of the people making the decisions think everybody wants to stop working. If you say, I want to recover and work again, it's kind of a wake-up call to them. Oh, this is somebody who doesn't want disability. Maybe he will get better and get back to work. And it's just a subliminal message to them that makes them think better of you when they're reviewing the case for disability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Good tone. All right. So anything else that should be in there, Jim, or is that the key core of it?
That's a key. There's not a lot to put into remarks.
Okay.
If you have any new diagnoses that weren't there when you filed the claim, put that in.
Yeah.
If you're seeing any new doctors you weren't seeing when you filed the claim, put their name and address in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But other than that, just anything new that wasn't there when you filed the claim should go there.
Okay, good. Eddie, how do you feel about that?
I appreciate all the answers. It's helping.
Good luck, Eddie.
Yep.
focus on what I need to answer best.
Yep. One more thing I'll share with you. I don't know if you're a current member of the Disability Digest, but if you're not, I invite you. There's no charge. And when you join, you can request the continuing disability review course that was put together with Attorney James Mitchell Brown. It has 10 segments, and it will help you go through parts of it that you've already been through, but it'll teach you everything to do, like what goes on from here, what happens if something doesn't go right, all that stuff. So that's a resource available to you as well. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in. Good luck. All right. You be well.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, James, we have time for one more caller.
Sure.
One more. All right. How about Jam, Philip? You have any more questions?
Yes, I do. You want to
Okay.
go, Phil?
I don't have any. Go ahead.
So we're going to
Okay.
open the phone lines up in another moment, folks. We're just going to answer a few questions and we'll open the lines for one last time. You're up, Jam.
All right. Good day, sir. Can you please tell me what would be the best way to start an asset recovery business online and protect my SSDI benefits? I've been on SSDI since 2007. This business requires to start LLC. I am 66 years old, will reach full retirement in October.
He's 66.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't have to worry about doing anything. He's not going to lose his disability because you're not getting disability anymore once you're over 65.
Easy
It
peasy
automatically
answer.
switches to retirement.
Yeah.
Right. So after that, after you reach full retirement, there will be no income limit, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Just as a
Um,
warning, if you're between 62 and 65, there is an income limit.
mhm,
So you have to be careful of that.
right. Okay. From Linda George, I'm receiving a pension and didn't let Social Security know. What will happen when I call and let them know now?
If it's a private pension, nothing will happen. If it's a pension from a state, then there should be an offset and they should know about it, or there'll be an overpayment. If it's a private pension, don't worry, you don't have to let them know.
Mhm.
All right. From Debbie, I live with my mom and pay her rent. I only receive $23 per month for SNAP and buy most of my groceries from my SSI. Do I need to contact anyone about the rent?
If you're getting your full Social Security, you don't have to contact anybody. If Social Security is taking away a third of your benefit, you should contact someone and ask them if they should be taking away less now that support for food doesn't count toward the offset.
Mm. That's a good one.
Another question related to that. What about gift cards? I was told if it's for food, it's considered income.
It's considered income. It's not traceable. Technically, you're supposed to report it to Social Security. Practically speaking, nobody's going to know if you didn't. Depending on the value of that gift card, it depends on what you have to do with it.
Yeah. Good.
All right. One more question. How
One
does
more, and then
nine?
we'll open the phone lines up for one last caller. So just a moment, folks.
Okay. This one is common. How does 1099 work with regards to the monthly income? I drive Uber and make over $1,100 before expenses. When I do taxes and claim deductions, will it show that?
Well, when you do your taxes, you'll take all your expenses off, which will make it less than $1,100 a month. And Social Security will get the net amount you're getting. They'll see your 1099, but then you'll also have your tax return to show that you're earning a lot less.
Mhm.
And that's the number Social Security should be looking at.
Mhm. Great. Good job earning extra money. Okay, I'm going to open up the phone lines for one last lucky caller before we wrap up today. The number is on the screen, 844-717-2454. Thanks for calling. This is Brian. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Brian, this is George.
How are you, George?
Taking it day by day.
I like it. How can we help you? What's your question for Attorney James Mitchell Brown?
Well, kind of a little short little two-parter here. You guys been watching, and you guys do a terrific job. And you mentioned that the approval rate in Ohio at reconsideration stage was 5%. I'm 59 and a truck driver, and I started having seizures, so that disqualifies me from my CDL. I was wondering if that 5% maybe would go up, maybe that I'm 59 and going through this.
A quick question in addition to that before I turn it over to Attorney Brown. You said your age. Have you applied yet?
I have, and I'm 7.5 months into the reconsideration stage.
Okay. All right. Jim, did you get all that?
Yeah. If he's 7.5 months into reconsideration, they're looking at him carefully. It's easy to prove he can't do his past work. Now, and, with seizures, he can't be by machinery. He can't do any climbing. He can't be on scaffolds. So a lot of jobs are eliminated. It's a matter of what other jobs can he do besides being a truck driver. Proving he can't do his past work is easy. Now they're looking at, well, could he work at McDonald's? Could he be a ticket taker at a movie theater? One of the important things you have to give them is the effects of the seizures. How often do you get them? How long do they last? Does the medicine cause any side effects? A lot of people take Topamax, which causes some serious cognitive problems. Some of the others cause a lot of fatigue. So you need to be able to talk about not just having seizures is a diagnosis. It's not a disability. Seizures do eliminate a lot of jobs, but they don't eliminate all jobs. So you again have to establish what else you can and can't do.
Jim, can I chime in on this one?
Sure.
So, George, how long were you driving truck for?
I drove a truck for 30 years. The past 26.5 or 27 years with the same company.
Over the road or local?
Local, hauling materials like gravel, sand, soil, stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, Jim, this is what I'd like to interject here. In this situation, we've had George, who has been in one profession for more than 15 years. And how or can you prove at this stage that he doesn't have any transferable skills? He's not able to do his current job, right? You know where I'm going with this, right?
Sure. Probably from that job, there's no transferable skills. If he's limited to light work, he gets benefits. If he's limited to sedentary work, we have to prove why he can't do sedentary work.
Mhm.
And it's doable. You need a little bit more to push it over the top. George, do you have any health problems besides the epilepsy?
Did you hear that, George?
I'm getting you, Brian, but nothing from
Okay.
Attorney Brown.
Okay, so on the replay, you'll get the full meal deal. But so the question is, do you have any other health challenges?
Just high blood pressure, arthritic knee, and memory. The seizures affected my memory considerably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, that's where
And I'm
needs.
seeing a neurologist, and so I guess they're going to send their paperwork to the Disability Administration.
Okay. All right. So
Has
Jim's
he had
gonna
any-
answer.
Has he had any testing to show the memory impairment?
Any testing to show the memory impairments?
Yes, I did have the MRI, and I just went to 2 weeks ago. Went to a mental health exam for the SSDI,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just completed that a couple weeks ago. So I don't know how long it takes them to analyze their information and get a decision like that.
Okay. Jim?
But a Social Security mental health examiner won't do much if you haven't seen anybody on your own. Usually won't, but they might. What else? It's kind of sad to say, but helps in this situation is the arthritic knees restrict your ability to do standing, lifting, things like that. My guess is you probably have backache sometimes too, maybe some problems in your neck. The arthritis is usually by the time you're 59 and you've done your kind of work, you usually have arthritis in more places.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest mistakes I see when people file for disability is they list the last thing that caused them to be disabled. In your case, it would be seizures, without putting down arthritis in my knees, memory impairment, things, hypertension. All of those things are combined to help create your disability.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't put them all down and you're denied now, when you file your appeal and request for a hearing, make sure all of those things are included.
Mm-hmm. Okay, George, I'm going to summarize this just to make sure you heard it, okay? Again, it'll be on the replay. But what Attorney Brown is saying, that the seizures are the most recent prominent thing that you have in your case file, right? But it is important to include all of the other aspects, physical, brain health related ones, in your application, and not just to say that you communicated them to them, to make sure, like the other caller that called in, her name was Shirley, that the medical records are in your case file for these, right? So they get the big picture. Yeah. Good. Well, listen, you had a great career, 30 years. That's fantastic. So hopefully this will help you out. Just stay the course. And as I mentioned to Shirley, the disability approval course here at the Disability Digest will definitely be able to help you at the reconsideration phase. And if you don't get approved there, then it'll help you prepare for your hearing. Okay.
Hey, thanks a lot for everything you do, Brian.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you. Stay in touch.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Just gonna wrap that up. Those were some good calls. Appreciate your help with the members, Jim, as always. Any last questions, comments in closing? Philip, Jam?
I just wanted to thank Attorney James Mitchell Brown. We are incredibly grateful, sir, for your presence today, and look forward to having you back here with us.
I'll be glad to be back. Let's plan on a couple months from now again.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and doing that.
Yeah.
And I hope your wife enjoyed the show, by the way.
I'm sure she did. I'll go check with
Yes.
her in a few minutes.
Yes, yes. So for all of you watching out there, I see there were some comments about a replay. Yes, this replay is available. So you can check that out. If you found value in this and you know somebody else that may be able to benefit, just send the link out to them. They can watch the replay as well. We have these live events most Wednesdays. We will not have one next Wednesday. But we have been concentrating on the back to work type information and events. So we'll have more of that in April. So make sure that you tune in. And if you're not a member or we haven't heard from you as a member here at the Disability Digest lately, we encourage you to visit the disabilitydigest.com. Either join us as a member, there's no charge, or update your membership. That's the very best way that we can help you, because once you complete your profile, we can then get the information to you that's going to help you. Like if we know that you haven't applied yet, there's a certain set of information for that. If you have applied and denied, it's different. If you're applied and approved. So completing your membership profile is very helpful in keeping it updated. Thanks again, everybody, for your contribution to today's event. Stay safe until the next time. Make it a great day.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Bye, Brian.
See ya.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye now.